Tonight, state of emergency. Debbie powering up, set to strike Florida.
Now is the time to exercise your disaster preparedness plan.
The life-threatening storm closing in on the Gulf Coast. Evacuations ordered, more than 3,000 flights delayed or canceled.
I'm Tom Hansen in Crystal River, Florida, and take a look at this. You can see that the water is already beginning to rise. Debbie is set to unleash potentially historic rainfall and catastrophic flooding across the South.
Also tonight, Veep states. Vice President Kamala Harris meeting with potential running mates. Her pick expected in hours. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump rallying with supporters, testing new lines of attack.
She's a horror show. She'll destroy our country. She supports mandatory gun confiscation. She wants to get rid of your cows.
New CBS polling tonight on the tightening race. In the Middle East, an Israeli strike on a Gaza shelter kills at least 30 people as Israel prepares for a possible attack from Iran.
I'm Deborah Patter in Jerusalem, where Benjamin Netanyahu is facing a fight on several fronts.
Plus, in Paris, medal mania for Team USA winning more gold, but a major upset in the pool. And later, surf's up, paws down. K9 competitors take to the waves at the World Dog Surfing Championship. Spectators lapping it up.
It's adorable. I was saying it's like the happiest place on earth.
This is the CBS Weekend News from New York with Jerika Duncan.
Good evening and thank you for joining us on this Sunday. Tonight, more than 10 million people along Florida's Gulf Coast are on alert as the first hurricane of this season is set to strike the state. Right now, Debbie is a tropical storm and gaining strength as we speak. It's fueled by the warm waters in the Gulf. It is big and moving slowly, making it very dangerous, even life-threatening. President Biden has declared an emergency across Florida. Multiple days of torrential rainfall are forecast across the southeast. CBS's Tom Hansen is in Crystal River, Florida, where the effects of the storm are already being felt. Tom, good evening to you.
Hey there, Jerika. Good evening to you as well. You know, we are being hit by the outer bands of this storm, and we've been watching as this inlet has gotten fuller and fuller of rainwater. It's just one of many conditions that are going to get worse as we head into the night. Debbie is on a collision course with the Florida coast. The storm is expected to strengthen into a Category 1 hurricane before making landfall in the state's Big Bend region.
This is not necessarily going to be something that just passes and then we don't see any effect. You can continue to see flooding, and you may even see a rebound of the storm.
Tens of thousands of people have already lost power, and more than 1,500 flights have been canceled nationwide. High wind warnings are in effect across the northern part of the state tonight, with gusts expected to reach speeds over 75 miles an hour.
And this is about a 5-foot surge.
The main threat from this storm will be flooding. Storm surges could reach as high as 10 feet. And states of emergency are in effect for Georgia and South Carolina, where heavy downpours are expected to trigger widespread flooding this week. And tonight, we're also learning that more than 19,000 customers in the state of Florida are already without power. Governor Ron DeSantis says thousands of workers are standing by to make repairs when it is safe to do so. Jerika?
All right, Tom Hansen for us in Florida. Thank you. Let's go now straight to CBS News meteorologist Andrew Kozak for more on the dangers ahead. Andrew.
Yeah, good evening, Jerika. So Debbie intensifying rapidly on this Sunday night. We'll be coming onshore in the Big Bend area of Florida as a Category 1 hurricane. We've got tropical storm watches, warnings, hurricane watches all across Florida, the Panhandle, back toward Georgia and South Carolina. It's the wind over 75 miles per hour, the rain, and the storm surge as high as 10 feet, prompting watches and warnings tonight. In the meantime, the track, of course, will take it over that warm water, intensifying rapidly overnight and then slim climbing into the Florida coast after around 2 a.m. Monday. Now, once we get into the early part of your Monday and then into Tuesday, it does start to decrease in intensity, but the rainfall, that is what's going to be very impressive with this storm. 8 to 12 inches across Florida, but then it meanders off the coast of the Carolinas. 10 to 12 inches by Thursday. This could be historic and potentially catastrophic for South Carolina and Georgia. We're watching Debbie as we head into your Monday. Of course, dry for the rest of the country in the midsection, and then some showers across the Rockies. Jerika?
All right, Andrew Kozak, we appreciate it. Tonight, Vice President Kamala Harris is closing in on the biggest decision of her 2-week-old presidential campaign. Who will be her running mate? That announcement is expected before Tuesday. Also tonight, a new CBS poll shows Harris has something President Biden never enjoyed this year: a slight edge, up 1% over Donald Trump nationwide. And across battleground states, the two candidates are neck and neck. CBS's Natalie Brand is at the White House tonight and leads off that part of our coverage. Natalie?
Good evening, Jerika. And this will be one of the biggest decisions Vice President Kamala Harris makes in her political career, a decision expected as soon as tomorrow. Every car going in and out of the vice president's residence under the microscope, as today she meets with some of her top running mate contenders. CBS News has confirmed the interviews include Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, and Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. Voters from that battleground state believe selecting a moderate could help in November.
I think this will be a close election, so impacting even a sliver of independents or maybe undecided, I think that could bring over enough people to make a difference.
New CBS News polling shows Harris has infused new energy into the race, with the percentage of Democrats who say they'll definitely vote rising to its highest point this year. And she's increased support among key groups such as black voters, younger voters, and women. In the poll, she's also leading Trump on the question of cognitive health.
Crazy Kamala. Kamala. You know, there's about 19 different ways of saying it.
As the former president tries to define his new opponent, stepping up attacks both personally and on policy.
If Harris wins this election, you will quickly have a Kamala economic crash.
The new polling shows Trump still maintains a sizable lead with voters who say they'll be financially better off with him in office, a feeling echoed by supporters at his Georgia rally this weekend.
I don't vote on personality. I vote for policy. And I vote based upon how it affects my wallet.
Now, the new CBS polling also shows more voters believe Trump's policies would decrease crossings at the southern border as immigration remains a top issue for Republicans. Jerika?
Natalie Brand at the White House. Tonight, the world is watching the Middle East as Israel prepares for a possible attack from Iran as early as tomorrow. A top U.S. general arrived in Israel this weekend. More U.S. warships and fighter jets are on the way. CBS's Deborah Patta is in Jerusalem tonight with more on that part of the story. Deborah, good evening.
Good evening. As the aftershocks of the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh reverberate throughout the region, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is facing a fight on several fronts. Another blow against peace. Israeli police clash with protesters in Tel Aviv, where not even the threat of an Iranian attack could keep them off the streets. They accuse their prime minister of choosing escalation over a hostage deal. But Netanyahu remains defiant and says former Israeli diplomat Alon Pincus increasingly at odds with the U.S.
He's gone completely rogue, meaning untethered from reality, intent on igniting a regional war, defying the military, defying President Biden.
Pincus believes the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh may have been justified, but it was not smart.
The location in Tehran was meant deliberately to elicit provocation and escalation.
They killed Fuad Shakur in a targeted strike, Mohammed Deif, Ismail Haniyeh. Why go after Gaza?
If you can pinpoint a precise attack 2,000 kilometers away, then why bother decimating entire neighborhoods. That's me telling you that assassinations are morally and ethically okay, but dropping those bombs on Gaza are not.
Still, those bombs keep falling. Israeli forces hit a hospital in the middle of the night, and today a school sheltering families displaced repeatedly by war. My brother was covered in blood, said this teenager as she relived the trauma. Lives blown apart, neighborhoods already reduced to rubble, pulverized once again. And tonight, as this country remains on high alert, Eureka, Netanyahu has once again warned that anyone who harms Israel will pay a heavy price.
Deborah Patta and your team, thank you for your reporting. Ukraine's military is now fighting back against Russian aggression with Western-supplied F-16 fighter jets. Today, President Volodymyr Zelensky watched the jets take off during a ceremony at an undisclosed airbase. More F-16s are expected in the coming months. In Bangladesh, nearly 100 people have been killed today as anti-government protests sweep across the nation there. Rioters set cars and buildings on fire. 13 officers were killed after protesters stormed a police station. The government has declared an indefinite curfew nationwide. And today in Britain, anti-immigration protests escalated into riots in several cities. Protesters attacked police who tried to guard a hotel that housed asylum seekers. The violent protests erupted last week after a deadly stabbing rampage at a dance class. In the American West this weekend, there's no end to the wildfire threat. Right now, there are 85 large wildfires burning, 21 of those with evacuation orders, including in California's Central Valley. CBS's Elise Preston reports.
Strike crews at Northern California's Park Fire attacked the flames from the air as ground crews cut down giant trees to slow the spread of the nation's largest wildfire.
To get just as close as we possibly can to the active edge of the fire and try to stop it where it is.
Nervous homeowners are also protecting their property by using rocks, removing landscaping, and adding sprinklers.
I got a sprinkler system, which I deployed 24 hours before the fire ever hit. So everything in that circle was saturated.
The massive inferno, which began less than 2 weeks ago, has burned more than 625 square miles and destroyed at least 564 structures. The Park Fire is especially devastating for Rick Perro, who lost homes in both this and the historic 2018 Camp Fire in nearby Paradise. This time, the flames also took his beloved pet, Kathmandu.
He was family, so neither my wife and I had kids, so he was our youngest little fur boy.
This is only one of 85 large wildfires burning in the U.S.
And it was really hard to think that I might not see my home again.
For many, the true scale of the devastation remains unknown. Elise Preston, CBS News, Los Angeles.
A big day at the Paris Olympics for Team USA. Noah Lyles, if you didn't see it, edged past Jamaica to win the 100 by just 5 thousandths of a second. It was an incredible race. In a stunning finish in the pool, China ended the U.S. men's reign in the 4x100 medley relay. But the women's 4x1 medley team smashed their own world record for the gold. And Bobby Fink, he won the 1500 freestyle with a world record swim. And on the links, Scotty Scheffler tearfully celebrated his gold medal comeback performance. Tonight, heading the final week of the competition, the U.S. leads the medal count with 71 overall and 19 gold. Straight ahead on the CBS Weekend News, the call to sign up and serve as election season heats up in Pennsylvania. And some rough competition, you get it, in California as top dogs hit the waves. The political spotlight shines brightly on Pennsylvania in campaign 2024. The winner of the Keystone State could win the White House. The Harris and Trump teams are spending big to make it happen. They're expected to commit more than $211 million in advertising in Pennsylvania. That's double the amount in any of the other 6 swing states. Similar to several battleground states, Pennsylvania has had a high turnover among local election workers in charge of overseeing your vote. And as I recently learned, that's a big concern for officials there.
Count every vote! Count every vote!
In 2020, the battleground state of Pennsylvania was ground zero for election protests, court challenges, and threats to election officials like Republican Al Schmidt.
You want to compare the results on all of those scanners.
He's a former Philadelphia commissioner who oversaw the city's elections. But these days, Schmidt has a much bigger role as Secretary of the Commonwealth, the top election official for the entire state.
What do you think is the greatest threat in 2024, this presidential election?
The turnover that we've seen with the people responsible for running elections. Some people left because of the ugly environment with threats and all the rest. Some people left because it was time for them to retire.
Across Pennsylvania's 67 counties, more than 80 senior election officials have left, impacting over 2/3 of counties.
Whenever you have people leave, people who have worked in elections for a long time and been replaced by people with less experience, the more likely you are to have people make mistakes in election administration.
An analysis of Pennsylvania's general election last year found an increase in ballot errors, in part due to turnover. Ballot errors doubled in the state's municipal general elections from 2021 to 2023.
These errors included instructions to vote for the wrong number of candidates, duplicate ballots being sent to the same voter, races or candidates being left off the ballot, improper ballot instructions and spelling errors.
So when you are running elections, there is no room for error, right? There's no redos or do-overs. But when it comes to the issues that you raised, in every one of the cases that you mentioned, there were remedial actions put in place to make sure that the results were accurate.
On the morning of November 6th, your hope is?
When it comes to election administration, you never see a headline, Election Day went smoothly. And what I'd really love is to see a headline that went, Election Day went smoothly in Pennsylvania.
Well, since 2020, Pennsylvania has redesigned its mail-in ballots to make it easier for voters to know where to sign and date their ballot to ensure that it is valid. Well, still ahead on the CBS Weekend News, blasting off with a change of clothes.
3, 2, 1, ignition, engines full power, and liftoff of Falcon 9.
Today at Cape Canaveral, Florida, a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket blasted off during a short window of good weather. It's on a resupply mission to the International Space Station. It is set to arrive there Tuesday. Included in the cargo, clothes, personal items, and food to the still in space commander and co-pilot of the Boeing Starliner. They were only scheduled to spend about a week at the ISS. It was Boeing's first crewed mission, but their return has been repeatedly delayed because of helium leaks and other landing issues. Today marks their 60th day in space. Next on the CBS Weekend News, surf's up. Dogs take to the waves at one of the most popular competitions anywhere. Finally tonight, it was a doggone good time for the thousands who packed a California beach this weekend for the World Dog Surfing Championship. In tonight's Weekend Journal, John Ramos of our CBS station in San Francisco checked out the fierce and friendly four-legged competition.
They came from all over to Lindemar Beach to catch a glimpse of a wonder of nature. Not the whales, although they were here too, but something even more amazing, dogs on surfboards.
But this is way better than what I was expecting. It's adorable. I was saying it's like the happiest place on earth.
The World Dog Surfing Competition was back in Pacifica. About 15 surfing canines showed up to compete for a title that no one really worried about.
For me, it's not competition. For me, it's just watching all the dogs surf.
There were 4 divisions: small, medium, large, and extra large, which included Rippin' Rosie. Her owner, Steve Drotter, is a lifelong surfer who says Rosie lives to be out on the waves with her buddy.
There's not that many people that actually get to surf with their dogs, and the people that do have such an amazing bond, and it's a gift.
I grab the surfboard, she starts crying like she wants to go. So ever since then, it's just been like, all right, you're the surfer in the family.
The competition has judges, and they insist there are things they actually evaluate.
Some do tricks, some, have costumes on, so it's a wide variety.
So basically, there are no standards. It's just whoever is the most fun to watch.
Whether we win or not, tomorrow morning, Rosie and I will be surfing at Pleasure Point together. So we win no matter what.
Few things in life bring more joy than having a dog. Yeah, but it seems like some dogs have more fun than others. John Ramos, CBS News, Pacifica, California.
And that is the CBS Weekend News for this Sunday. Later on 60 Minutes, a revolutionary new procedure to treat Alzheimer's disease. For now, I'm Jerika Duncan in New York. From all of us here, thank you for watching. Have a great night.